This is Pet Life Radio. Let's talk pets.
Hi, welcome to It's a Doggy Dog World. I'm your host, Liz Palaika, and with me today are my good friends Petra Burton.
Hello.
And Kate Abbott.
Howdy.
And with us also is one of Kindred Spirit dog training trainers, Sue Dewar.
Hello.
I always pronounce it wrong, so I have to think about it. Sue's here for a specific reason, and that is she got badly bit by a dog recently. And unfortunately, it was a pit bull. And if you've listened to our podcast, you know that we don't blame pitties. We don't believe in breed-specific legislation. It doesn't work. But sometimes some pitties have issues. So we want to talk a little bit about what happened a couple weeks ago, what potentially could have prevented it, and what we all could learn from it. So let's start in the beginning. First of all, Sue, you're not a novice to dogs. You've got a long history with dogs.
I have been working with dogs for over 40 years. I was a veterinary technician and have been training dogs since I guess I was a child. And I love dogs, and I've always been a pit bull advocate, and now I'm upset to be a statistic.
Yeah, being a statistic sucks for everybody.
Yeah.
Now, you even trained one of your pitties to, was it TV or movies or
He
commercials?
was on TV and commercials. That was 30-something years ago. A little stray pit bull came into the veterinarian I was working for, and I decided to train him, take him home and train him. I had a child. He was 4 at the time, and I had another dog and was a little concerned about bringing home the breed, but I figured that, he would be a puppy and he could be trained from early on, and in socializing him and taking him to obedience class and training him early and often, we ended up in a class where the owner of the dog school was a Hollywood trainer and thought he would make a really good movie dog, and he later on went on to do a movie. It was a coast-to-coast pilot, which didn't get picked up, but he did make enough money to put down on my first house, so actually a pit bull bought my first house.
Awesome.
Nice.
Awesome.
Nice.
Awesome.
And they were great dogs. I had 2 of them, and I had 2 children, and there was never any issue of, gee, you have dogs and you have children. I think people have been doing that for thousands of years, but lately it just seems to be a little more dangerous having dogs around children.
Well, I think that's a whole nother podcast, and we ought to schedule that coming up. You've also done a lot of rescue, too.
I have been doing rescue for many years. I've rescued all kinds of dogs. My latest rescue is a 1.5 years old now. He's a deaf little Jack Russell Terrier mix.
And curled up on the blanket with
Curled up on the-
my hero.
He thinks he's an English Shepherd because he's around so many of them.
Well, I think right now he thinks Hero's a radiator.
Hero is his radiator right now. But we do a lot of foster care, have done a lot of foster care. They come and they go, and they always have.
When you bought your current house,
When
it
I-
came with a rescue.
I bought my house, it came with a rescue. It came with a lovely
You know
German
what? Did you
Shepherd.
ever notice that right above your hair, your eyebrows,
big
it says
sucker
sucker?
sign? I was born with that sucker sign. It's been with me throughout my life. Yes.
And you should talk.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, how many you have?
All right, so I think we've pretty well established you're not a neophyte in dogs. You know dogs well. You know pitties. You love most pitties. You've had pitties. You've done rescue. So let's talk about this incident. Kate, I think you took the phone call about this lady bringing her dog to class, right?
She had only had it for a week before the first class. And she wanted to get in early, and she was worried because, well, she'd been living in an apartment, she and her boyfriend. They had a 10-year-old boxer. They moved to a house with a yard, so they thought they would open their family up to another dog, having the yard, and as companionship for their older boxer. But after about a week,
And she specified that she wanted to rescue.
she wanted to rescue. I don't know that she particularly went to pick the ugliest dog there, but
She sure
came pretty
did.
close to
He
it.
was handsome.
Yeah.
All the scars. There was some worry that the dog had growled at her boxer, so they were careful to keep them apart except when supervised.
I told her that the first week
Yes.
when she came in. I saw the dog. The dog, obviously, he was so scarred up and so very large and like overbred to be a monster. And he obviously had been baited and trained to go after dogs that were reacting aggressively.
He'd either been a fighter or he'd been a bait dog. And after we saw his reactions, I'm sure he was a fighter.
And the first week, though, I didn't get any red flags from the dog. He seemed like a nice enough boy. I gave him a treat. He took it from my hand very gently. I gave him some water. I walked away. When I came back, he was happy to see me, wagging his tail, licked me. And
Yeah, because you even made a comment. You're like, hey, I just made a new friend.
yeah, what a nice boy he was.
You mentioned that.
But he was also looking around, and we were concerned that maybe the woman didn't have enough control over the dog because he was a really large, strong dog, and she had him in a harness that.
And she was not a big woman.
No.
And not an experienced dog owner.
Yeah.
So I went and sat back there with her purposely because I wasn't sure if she had control of the dog or not.
Yeah.
And the first week he seemed to be okay.
And Petra and Kate, you both had some interactions with him on the first week too, right?
Yeah.
Or with her, talking with her.
Yeah, nothing, no red flags or anything.
I had given her the, let's see how he does. If we get any red flags or hinky feelings about him, I think I said, then yeah, we're going to have to do something else before group class.
Yeah. And
we did mention that the harness may not be the appropriate tool for training. That was mentioned.
She had mentioned that her vet thought that the dog should have a prong collar.
And at the end of the first class, I went over to her and said, well, I checked with the others. We don't see a problem at this point.
I was standing in front of the class teaching, and when I'm teaching, I'm constantly scanning the class, especially the first week of class. I watch the owners, I watch the dogs, and if I see anything even starting to brew, I'll call one of the other trainers over and, yoo-hoo, so-and-so needs help or whatever, especially if nobody else sees it. And I saw that he was interested, but there were several others in the class that were more interested in what was going on than he was.
There's a few others are more rowdy than him.
Yeah, so I didn't see any danger signs in him the first week. Now, the second week was different. The second week he came in up on his toes. He was much more, I won't say that he came in reactive, because I don't think it was to that level. Alert, aware, definitely higher energy on the second week of class. And at one point during the class, maybe about halfway through, he slipped out of his harness.
Well, at the first class, we had put him off to the side in the back. The second class, we said, all right, we'll move you up a little bit, but still in the back, but a little bit closer. Okay,
right.
So then
There was a couple of dogs in front of him, first a golden, that he was paying too much attention to, and I had her and her dog move to another bench, and that cleared his view of a husky, and he was starting to really, not a hard stare yet. I was watching for a hard stare, not a hard stare, but he was definitely aware of the husky, who was very active and talking and wiggling and bouncing and.
Oh, she was being a pain in the butt.
Yeah, she was.
She was yelling and screaming and being an adolescent husky.
Yeah, she was. And he was focused on her. And then he slipped out of his harness, and she caught him by the collar and a handful of skin. And I turned to the trainers behind me and said, she needs some help. And Kate and Sue went down there.
I grabbed a prong collar. Sue grabbed the spray bottle.
I grabbed the spray bottle because the husky was jumping around and acting crazy, and I didn't realize that the woman had a spray bottle. And I was trying to go over there to see what I could do with the woman with the husky, because that was what the problem seemed to be.
Right.
And that's when I sat down on the bench in front of the pit bull.
Well, you sat there specifically, though, to block his view.
Well, no, I was not even concerned about him. I was just trying to handle the husky.
No. See, to me, it looked like you did it purposely to block his view.
No, I wasn't. I didn't give him a second thought. Kate was walking over there, and I thought, well, I'll be back up. And Kate case Kate needs me when she does the collar change
Sure.
on the dog. And in the meantime, I'm going to see what's happening with the husky. So as we both walked over, Kate went around behind the bench. I sat down in front of the bench. The first thing that dog saw when he was focused on the husky was, unfortunately, my butt, which is the butt of all the jokes.
It's been 2 weeks. Once we realized Sue was going to live, it's been 3 weeks worth full of butt jokes. Yeah, so he grabbed your cheek.
Yes, he did.
And he got the jeans and
The shirt
underwear
and
and
me.
shirt and you, and unfortunately didn't let go immediately
Didn't let
either.
go. And at first I didn't even realize he was biting me because I thought it was his claw. And after, I don't know how many seconds I realized the pain was going on, then I kind of
Yeah. Well,
cursed
the
a
time,
little bit. I have to apologize.
time slowed.
Yeah.
Time slowed.
And
I saw it from the front of the class. I headed your direction. I think everybody headed your direction. Kate was beating him on the head with her fist. You gave yourself a hematoma on your
Yeah,
hand.
that was pretty useless. And I had a hold of his buckle collar, and I was trying to twist it. Cut
Yeah.
off some air
was
supply,
useless.
but,
Which is useless on a great big huge pity.
So
But-
I don't know how he finally let go, but I was glad that he did.
I think he disliked the taste of your jeans.
Yeah.
Well, and thank God that you were on one of the benches that had a back.
Yes, it wasn't
That
a very...
gave him a limited target.
That was the good thing. And also the fact that this dog had so much potential that he was going to hurt somebody, and it could have been so much worse. Or it could have been a child.
Because even through the bench, he got
Even through the
4
bench.
teeth in you
Mhm.
and hung on.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The lady with the golden retriever. Well, the next step was then you headed for the office. Deb and Petra were chasing you, leading you to the office with the first
While
aid.
Sue's yelling over her, so, somebody get my dog!
Yeah.
I would have been much more traumatized had he grabbed somebody's dog.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, that would have been absolutely horrid. But you and Deb were tending to first aid,
Yep.
and then
Yeah.
Deb grabbed car keys and took you to urgent care.
Yeah, because when I looked at it, I'm like, whoop.
That's
yeah.
not just
I'm
first
not
aid.
touching that.
No, this requires more than just a little butterfly.
Yeah, because when I got bit by the pit bull, she patched me up with
Yeah, you were
butterflies
good.
and glue and sent me back out in front of class. I had blood down the front of my red shirt, and
You're
she
good.
said, "Well, it's red blood, red shirt, go."
There you go. Yeah.
Well, I
Yep,
had-
just
I had
bandaged her up real quick. And
5 stitches, and
Get
I
outta here.
still have a hematoma.
Yeah, yeah. And then Kate stayed with the dog and the owner and worked them towards her car.
Yeah, I took a hold of his buckle, pulled his front feet just about off the ground, and he was not resisting me. He walked, and I said, "We're leaving," and she said, "Yeah, okay." The owner was traumatized.
She was
Oh, I can
devastated.
imagine.
She
Yeah.
was shaking. She was crying. So I said, "We got to get out of here." I frog marched him off the field to her car. She fumbled for her keys. She got the back open. He jumped in happily, turned around and was like, "Hey, how has everybody doing?"
Like nothing ever happened.
I left the leash on him. And I told her, I said, "You will not go home with this dog. You are going to drive from here directly to the shelter and return him to the shelter and tell them he is a dangerous dog and they should call us for more details. And then you're going to
And
go
they
home
did.
and love on your boxer."
And they did call us.
And she turned to me and said, "My boyfriend just left this morning. He's going to be gone for a week. I would have been at home alone with that dog and my boxer for the next week if it had happened then." And I said, "Yep, and it's not going to happen because you're going to drive right there." And then she said something about she'll never be able to listen to another Sarah McLachlan song. Yeah.
Sarah McLaughlin's fault.
No, just used her on that commercial. And I did say, "It's not your fault that you were given this, you were allowed to adopt this dog, but this is not the right dog and he is dangerous to society."
Yeah.
And to her credit, she did. She drove immediately to the shelter.
And we did get a call from Animal Control. Petra, you talked to
Well, I
them.
think Kate called and left a message
Yeah.
first, and then they had called back, and they did confirm that she did surrender him back to their custody.
And then when I called to find out what was happening, they had no idea who the dog was.
That
'cause they
was
had
that
a
one
different
person you
name.
talked to.
And she said she had not gotten any phone calls about that at all that day, and it's like the communication over there is
Yeah. Yeah.
And why are they adopting these dogs out to people that don't know what they're getting?
And
Well,
and I think that's our primary. I mean, yes, we're concerned about your butt.
We
We're
are.
very concerned about your butt, and have photos to prove it.
Oh boy.
But
Blackmail.
but
What was day number 3, Dark Moon Rising?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or Dark Side of the Moon.
Dark
yeah,
Side-
or
Dark
something.
Side of the
Yeah.
Moon, yeah.
but yes, this particular dog, I don't know what temperament tests they did, if they did any. I don't know what their adoption procedures were, but this dog should never have been adopted out. Should have never been adopted out to this particular owner.
The thing is, on day 1, we all looked at him and said, this dog's been fighting.
Yes.
Whether as bait or warrior, who knows.
Yeah.
But it just screamed it. We all had our reservations.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yet his behavior the first class,
He held it together.
we had no reason after the first class. But coming on the field, your radar went up.
Sure, as soon as I saw the dog, my radar went up, because that's not the kind of dog that you just give to anybody with no experience that has a 10-year-old boxer at home that, you don't know what's going to happen. What happened was years ago, they were going to do a pit bull ban altogether, ban the breed altogether, and no matter how sweet and nice your dog was, they were going to come and take your dog, which made no sense at all, because that didn't cover the problem, which was the aggressive dogs and the vicious attacking dogs. They would be left alone. So when they didn't do the ban on the pit bulls, it's like then it just became a free-for-all. Now it's like they're going to keep all the dogs alive no matter what. And if they pick these dogs up, which they have so many of them on every death row at every shelter everywhere, and these people that work there get tired of piling their bodies into the freezer, and I can certainly understand there. I've been there, and it's a hard thing to do, but you can't give novice people a dog that is only a professional level dog.
All right, well, we need to take a break for our sponsors, so hold on. We've got a lot more to talk about when we get back.
Sit, stay. It's a Doggy Dog World. We'll be right back after a short pause. Well, 4 to be exact.
Put on a perfectly pawsome pet party. Having an awesome birthday or adoption day celebration for your four-legged friend? Or just want a fun excuse to throw a fun party with your friends from the dog park? Deck out your party with Molly and Bandit Pet Party accessories. Party products designed specifically for pets. There are wearables, including adjustable pet party hats, bow ties, and tutus. The photo prop kits include funny glasses and hats. The party supplies and decorations include coordinating table covers, party banners, cake decorations, and treat bowls, cups, and bags. Everything you need to create great memories and Instagram-worthy photos. They're available in 2 colorful themes, tropical and fireman. It's a dog's life. Celebrate it with Molly and Bandit Pet Party at mollyandbanditpetparty.com/petlife.
Let's talk pets
Let's talk pets.
on Pet Life Radio.
Pet Life Radio.
PetLifeRadio.com. We know you're begging for more. So back to It's a Doggy Dog World with your fetching hosts, Liz Palika, and this week's co-hosts, Kate Abbott and Petra Burke.
Welcome back to It's a Doggy Dog World. I'm Liz. With me today are Petra and Kate. There's one of the local rescues that pulls dogs from the shelter, and Sue, you and I have both volunteered for them. And I know they have one pitty. They call him a something mix, but
Always
he's
something else.
He's a big-headed, big-shouldered, big-chested pitty. And they've had him in foster and in training for 2 years.
Right.
He's draining their resources. They could
They've
have
got him in a boarding kennel. They're paying to board.
Yeah,
the
they
dogs
could have
go crazy.
rescued. They could have rescued who knows how many other dogs, saved other lives, if they just admitted that this one is not suitable for adoption.
And then they're so desperate to find these dogs homes that they'll give them to just about anybody who says, "Oh, I want to save a dog, and this
Yeah.
one will be different."
Yeah,
And sometimes they are, but are you willing to take that chance? If you're going to have a dog like that, you want to save a dog that is not your typical Labrador or poodle
Mix
or
or-
something
yeah.
mix, then you need to be responsible for it and keep it safe and keep people safe from it. You can't be taking these dogs out places and turning them loose in dog parks. And
That crossed my mind, Sue, what you said earlier, though. There's the breed ban, and it doesn't work. We know it doesn't work, whatever your philosophy is. But whether there's this pendulum swinging the other way, that they must all be saved now.
Right, that's the other.
And we've talked about that before. In fact, we've talked about it recently in podcasts, that there is...
And it's not just pitties.
No.
It's
no.
all, the
All
no-kill
dogs.
shelters is a great idea.
Yes.
But,
in theory.
In
there
practice...
are some that should not
No.
be.
I think a lot of older people that can't afford the vet bills, they'll take an older dog in because they think it'll be humanely euthanized, and instead it's placed in some other home or a foster for ancient old dogs or something. It's gone too far the other way.
Yeah. But I don't think any of us have a magic wand.
No, I don't.
And
All we can do is keep talking.
the woman did the right thing. She went, she rescued a dog, she called, got the information early, brought the dog out. So she was,
was
Came to a
willing
class.
was
Right.
willing to do training.
yeah. So
Yeah.
it's a
Her
shame.
heart was in the right place. It was the wrong dog.
Well, like Sue and I were talking, I mean, she was trusting the shelter went through his behavior issues. I mean, she didn't know any
She
better.
told them she had a 10-year-old boxer.
Yeah,
And that's my
was
concern. The
honest.
first week was, do not leave him alone with your dog, because he has the potential of causing great damage and you don't know. So keep them separated until you're sure that they get along. And even then, I wouldn't leave them alone together.
And see, she listened and did
Right.
all of that.
Right.
Yeah.
She was willing to learn, but she shouldn't have been.
Yeah, so it
Giving
wasn't
this
like
dog
that I
something.
looked the dog in the eye, or that I
Gave him a hard
gave him a
stare.
hard stare, or that he smelled fear, or it was none of that. I just
Yeah.
You weren't
simply
even moving.
sat down and he went,
Yeah.
there it is.
Weren't even moving.
No, I wasn't moving. I couldn't move.
Well, and then once he got a hold of you, you
Yeah.
couldn't stand up.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was hitting him, and you were using the spray bottle to hit him.
I think I had a plastic water bottle in my hand or something like it.
Something
Something was
like
going to feel that. It's like clunk, clunk, clunk.
It was amazing how time slowed down though, because
Yeah.
and once he let go of you and you headed for the office with the
Speed it
first
up
aid
again.
with the first aid crew, then by that time I had reached Kate, who had hold of the dog, and I tilted the bench backwards. I figured worst case scenario, I'd drop the bench on his head and then put a foot on it, because I was afraid then that he was going to turn on Kate.
Yeah, I was afraid he was going to hurt. Hey,
Well, that's Sue's dog Matisse, who apparently is going to defend her from all pit bulls.
he's alerting us to somebody that he can't hear, so
That was a deaf dog barking.
I think he's lying.
And in retrospect, that's one more clue that he probably was a fighting dog. That when I grabbed a hold of a collar and dragged him
Yeah.
off, he was just like, oh,
Oh, that's what happens after a fight.
yes.
And
Oh, this feels normal.
the
Okay.
escalating husky behavior, as it escalated, so
Yeah.
did he.
Mm-hmm.
He was ready to go and get it.
I will say, though, that
Well, then you had to calm the class down after all this. I mean, you
Kate took the dog off.
we
Paige
took Sue away.
and I
You
was
had the
left with the class.
Good luck.
You had two other trainers with him.
Two who were slightly traumatized
Yeah.
also. Two of the women were crying. The lady with the golden retriever, who with her dog had been sitting in front of the pit bull, and I moved.
Oh, that
She
poor
was
woman.
hysterically crying. I'm sure she thought that could have been her or her dog.
Yeah.
One of the other ladies was crying. I don't know whether she was just crying. I didn't ask her why.
Why?
And everybody was clutching their dog to their chest. A couple of the guys were, well, I could have helped.
Response of the students afterwards.
Yes.
So we did send them an email saying, that dog will not be back in class.
Yes.
So come on back. It's going
Right.
to be okay.
We had about 4 people that didn't come back.
Well, two of the 4 had been sick. They would have been missing anyway.
Okay.
And one of them said that she was glad in a weird way that her kids got to see that dogs can be dangerous and not to take them for granted.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Sue, your butt may have saved a child from getting bit in the
That's
future.
nice. I
Yeah.
certainly hope it saved somebody.
Well,
from something.
it was, if it happened, granted, we wish it didn't happen, but it happened.
Yeah.
I was impressed that mom was willing to turn it into a lesson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also there was
good.
someone from a dog rescue had a friend in the class, and I get home and she says, I hear what happened to you at dog. I was like all over the...
Oh, the word spread.
And she said, all she could say was how well the class was handled. So that everybody
Yeah.
was
She was very nice, and the next week when she came back and sat in the front row where she's always been sitting, she said it was handled very professionally.
It was until we got to the doctor, and then Deb, one of our attorneys, and I just completely lost it. And
I guess you made one of the doctors angry. You don't make
Sure feels that way.
the doctor who puts stitches in your butt, you don't make him angry.
She just thought we were a couple of idiots.
But Deb does have a photographic record of
Yes,
everything
she
that happened
certainly
to your
does.
butt.
Well, I did ask her to do that also.
Yeah.
Why
Yeah.
I said, let's document this,
In case.
just in case. Let's document this.
I never thought so many people were going to see my butt in my whole life.
Well, thankfully, this is a podcast. It's radio and not TV.
And the pictures you can only see that you can't tell it's me.
Oh, I don't know. I bet those scars are identification now. Well, laughter aside, it was traumatic. It was not nice for Sue. Certainly not something that should have happened to the owner of the pit bull, the adopter. It was pretty traumatic for the class, although we turned it into a lesson. We talked to him about it, and Sue came back to the class Saturday and talked to him and was willing to answer any questions, but I think that the ones who had the most questions were the ones that didn't come back. We did lose a few people from that class. Apparently it was more trauma than they were ready to handle. Or I should say reality. But
it is not the norm. I think it's been, 15 years since the last bite?
oh yeah, it's been
And
a
that
long
was an
time.
arm bite?
Oh, I've taken so many chances over so many years doing
Yeah.
rescues and knock on wood, haven't been bitten.
Yeah.
So, nobody in my family was at all surprised that I got bit. It's like,
They're going like,
you
well,
pretty
about
much
time off.
assume the risk every time you leave the house.
But
Where's
and
the
that's
sympathy from your family?
and that is one of the lessons that I imparted on our students that day when she went up here to the office, is someone in the class said, oh, those pit bulls, they're all so dangerous. And someone else spoke up. Another student popped up at the same time I did. No, there are many, many very nice pitties. And we have pitties in our therapy dog group that are absolute angels. Any dog at any given situation can bite. Dogs can bite. This particular dog had a problem. And he was what was made of him. I'm sure he
Exactly.
wasn't born to be a bait dog. He wasn't born to fight other dogs. He was what was made of him. But it's not just pitties. And we imparted that. I imparted that to the whole class. That was a big point that was made afterwards.
And as an owner of a previous owner of a Rottweiler, a Mastiff, you have Shepherd.
Yeah, Petra and I
had
have both
German
had
Shepherds.
German
Bull
Shepherds.
Mastiff,
Yeah.
my pit bulls,
Yeah. I had a Doberman.
my miniature
That's
pincher.
right. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Walking through downtown Washington, D.C. with a black and rust Doberman. It was like the parting of the seas.
Yeah.
And he was a big boy.
There is a higher degree of you have to be more conscious of the size of the weapon.
Right.
A biting Chihuahua, we kind of go, oh, it's a Derringer. No, but, just shake it. But a big dog has
Anybody
Shake it off my toe. Get away.
anybody walk up to my Dobie and go boo and he'd piss himself. But they didn't know. He was a big
Yeah.
black Doberman with cropped ears, one of which didn't stand up.
Oh.
But he was. Now, my German Shepherds, you didn't mess with my German Shepherds.
Right.
And you didn't mess with Mom when the German
Exactly.
Shepherds were around. That was a totally different story.
I do think there's a higher standard of responsibility
Yes.
Oh,
for
sure.
a dog that has more equipment.
And the dog who was bred to be a working dog, a dog who was bred to have those characteristics. Inu didn't know that he was bred to have those characteristics, but, he He was a handsome boy, and he was a sweetheart. All right. Well, on that note, anything else you want to add, Sue?
Just if you're going to adopt a dog and make sure you're responsible for that dog.
And I think understand before you adopt him, understand what you're getting into.
Right.
How much do you know about pitties or boxers or Dobermans or Chihuahuas? How much do you know about them?
How do you know that what they're telling you you're getting is what you're actually getting?
Right.
You know what? And also go with your gut. If something doesn't feel right, say no. There's other dogs to rescue out there.
There are a lot of good dogs needing rescue.
Yeah,
Right.
You don't have to rescue the first one.
And on that note, we'll call it quits, and we'll talk to you next time.
Bye-bye.
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 Having a rough day? Longing for the dog days of summer? Think your fun furry friend lives a dog's life? Well, find out everything you're begging to know as Pet Life Radio presents It's a Doggy Dog World with pet expert and award-winning author Liz Palaika. Every dog has his day, and you'll find out how to make your dog's day fun and rewarding. Every week, on demand, only on PetLifeRadio.com.